Okay, hello there. I made a little power supply from this is this was actually a 12-volt car adapter interface. I mean voltage regulator. It has LM337 or what is LM377 this circuit, and it had a switch which has many modes and it only connects a certain resistor to the circuit to adjust the voltage. And I only made the difference here that I put a potentiometer, which is a variable resistor, so I can adjust the voltage uh, to which I want. Now it takes 12 volts in from my old. This is some 12 volt. Actually, Anamte, no, it's there. Anamte phone charger, which gives 1 ampere and 12 volts, and this is quite sufficient for this. And even this, because this was rated for uh, 200 milliamps to 800 milliamps, so not even an amp. So it cannot be used for much nothing. You cannot charge any smartphones because they need much more than 1 ampere even to load the battery, because the operation usually takes something like 800 milliamps or something. Maybe not that much, but anyway, it's not. It has no other uses because it's so cheap, and it can only run a clock now, because I made here a USB port, because this is eating little button batteries which are dead in 3 or 4 months. Now it's only a backup battery there, and I have adjusted this something like 1.46 volts, and the battery is something like 1.4 or something like that. So the I don't know how much does it need voltage to start loading the battery. It shouldn't load the battery, at least not much. So if the voltage difference is less than a half volt or something, or maybe it should be even closer, but as close as you get the voltage, it shouldn't load the battery at all. Or I'm suspecting that it will load the battery somehow and maybe spoil it, or if I increase the voltage too much, it will actually heat up the bottom battery and might cause it to leak or explode. So I think I will make some kind of system which would be safe, maybe, to take the battery out and use the clock without battery. It's safe, or make there a switch or some transistor switch which senses the input voltage and cut off the battery out of the system. And if it loses the mains power, because this is from what is this wall mounted power, and if it loses the power from the grid, it will automatically transfer to the battery. Now they are just simply wired together, and this voltage is going straight to the battery. And if it's too high, it might cause problems by loading the discharging the unchargeable battery. I have never seen a button battery. If it would be some kind of nickel NIMH battery or some other lithium battery or something, maybe not lithium because the volt it's hard to charge, but actually maybe it's easier than those NIMH batteries. But anyway, a LED cell would be best. If it would be some LED button cell, well, it would be more than 2 volts, because chemically it's not possible to make 1.5 volts LED batteries. So the one cell is something like or more than 2 volts. So 2 volts is too much for this clock, I think. I haven't actually tested if it's not going to break with 2 volts. So then I could use a lead acid battery cell with the clock. but I suspect that the clock don't like over 2 volts, so 2 volts. So and even I'm thinking if I put here, I tested this. It also works if I put the 5 volts. Now it takes 12 volts in. But if I put the 5 volts, I have to adjust it to increase the voltage. And if I put it back without adjusting it, it will give too much voltage if I put 12 volts back there. So, but I'm thinking if I do this, because I don't want to use this, because now it's ridiculous to drop 12 volts to 1.5 volts. You have to lose 10.5 volts there. So maybe from 5 to 1.5 would be better. So, and I could use this from any computer or laptop or anything. And I think the current is very small because I tested a power supply and it only took from the grid, actually it takes 10 milliamps, and with this box it takes 50 milliamps. So the load is increasing there by 5 milliamps. And I don't remember if I tested, but the clock takes something like 400 microamps. So something like half a milliamp. So not even 1 milliamp the clock takes. So it doesn't really matter if this is so. If this only would give 200 milliamps out and max 800, so 200 versus half milliamp. So the clock surely wouldn't cause any trouble for this power supply. And I was thinking I could also use this with the LED system, because I can adjust this to the LED voltage, something like 2.5 to 4 or 3.5. So I can use it there instead of, because now I'm using this, and this is quite a large, and this box would be much smaller and could be hidden behind the TV, and now I have this bulky power supply there, so not so good. So anyway, so you can use this, and I didn't need to actually do much more. Just put a potentiometer there and some wires, and I put a fuse. It's actually maybe too large because it's 7.5 amps. But anyway, it should be something like half an amp, because if this gives out, well, maybe an amp. So if it gives out 800 milliamps, so the fuse should be 1 ampere. So if it overloads by 200 milliamps, the fuse will burn. But now I have this, if only for the case of, and I haven't found any smaller from my warehouse than 7.5, so it's ridiculous fuse. But anyway, it will surely burn the device before the fuse burns. But anyway, so this is so fun to make little things, and I was so pissed off because this battery, this clock was eating batteries, 4 little bottom batteries every year, and changing battery for clock every 3 or 4 months was ridiculous. Maybe that's why the clock has been dropped or thrown to the wall, because it wasn't working anymore. But anyway, so red lights, Merry Christmas, and yeah, switch. So that kind of stuff. It's very, very easy to make these things, because you can, if you have a button multimeter, you can make sure that the voltage is right, and then you can just experiment. And when you use small devices which will definitely not overload these little power supplies you make, it's quite safe. And even if you use original fuses, actually I burned the original there when I was adjusting the voltage. So I'm not sure if I short circuited it or if I put it too high or something, but the fuse burned. So you should use the fuse.